speakers, our respected dear colleagues and friends who have joined our webinar today for this conference, and special invite to our host, Mr. Khizer Ahmed, founder and director of Khizer Technologies Private Limited. Khizer Technologies is a multitasking company with many portfolios. They are into web designing, digital marketing, media and press, admissions to schools and colleges, marketing partners to various companies for different products and educational needs. Today, the theme is evolution of education and educators. Are we audiences all, or am I audible to everyone?
Yes. Please go ahead, Latha ma'am, you are.
Very good. Now, I just wanted to ask a question to the audience. Being educators, we all know who taught us and how we learned and then taught others. But do we know who taught the first teacher? And what you can do is, whoever wants to answer can just send a message in the chat and mention your contact numbers as well. And once we see if it is correct, at that point of time, we will be sending you your goodies. So the first question to the audience is, who taught the first teacher? Anyone? All right. Dr. Vijay Saraswati has sent a message saying it is mother. Good. Anybody else? Mother is our first teacher. We know that. But who taught the first teacher who existed? Nature? Okay, good. Anybody else? Experience. All right, good. Almighty. All right, and many more, isn't it? Children, okay. Great. So being educators, we still are yet to find out who taught the first teacher. All right, it was Plato, okay. And also we call that as, that person as God, Chiron. Chiron is the Greek mythology, you know, we had a god. So he was the first person who taught, the first teacher. We learn through nature.
Latha madam, unmute your audio.
It's unmuted only.
Now it's, yeah, now it's done.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello.
Go ahead, Dr. Latha Murthy, we can hear you.
The next question is, who invented school? We all went to school. We all learned from school. We all learned from our teachers. Who invented school?
The Soros man.
Very good. All right. Let me give you the answer. No one has told me. Gurukulas. Wonderful. Then who invented? Gurukulas invented school, is it? Okay. There was a person called Horace Mann. Horaceman in Mann. In 1796. All right. He was a person who invented school. Next question. Where was the first school in the world? Where was the first school in the world situated? Anybody? Where was the first school As educators, we should know all this, isn't it? So the first school, let me give you the answer itself. Good. Gokulnath, Forest one. Very good. Morocco, Priya Narayan. Very good. Excellent. It was in Morocco. What was the name of the school? It was in Fez. F-E-S. Fez. And the name of the school was the University of Al-Qarawin. Al-Qarawin. It is located in Fez in Morocco. Very good. Excellent, Priya Narayan. A goodie for you. And a goodie for Gokulnath and also Udhay Shankar. Great. The last question. Who was the first teacher in the world? Who was the first teacher in the world? Anybody? Who was the first teacher in the world? You can speak as well. You can speak and say instead of typing. But you have to send your contact.
I can recall it. So great.
Very good. Hemalata Murthy. Dr. Hemalata Murthy gets it. Wonderful. Thank you. All right. Let's continue now. As today, according to our today's theme, to the needs of the students. The world changed when Howard Gardner and others came along and turned education on its head by promoting an agile teacher model. The purpose of education has evolved over time. There we go with our first speaker for the day, Dr. Venkata Rayudu, being our speaker who is going to speak on how did education evolve. Bala, hailing from a farmer family in Poranki village near Vijayawada in Andhra Pradesh, after getting his degree in BSc B.Ed and his PG in MCA and MBA, Dr. Rayudu's dedication and commitment to academic excellence has led to the establishment of his own school, college, and professional software training centers in Vijayawada and Hyderabad, from where he has trained more than 2,000 engineering and MCA students in software and placed them in top corporate in US and United Kingdom. Not only this, he has trained many NGOs and educational institutions in leadership. Currently, he is a director in the boards of more than 20 prestigious schools and colleges in South India and is leading as a CEO and principal of Gurukulam Global Residential School, Hosur. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you very much.
And we have to welcome Ms. Fathima Khader. She has joined us from Melbourne, Australia. We warmly welcome you, Fathima Khader. All right, sir, please go ahead.
Good evening, Latha Murthy madam, for giving a brief introduction about me. Yeah, yes. The very important point is I have done my research.
We are unable to hear you, sir.
You can't hear me?
Yes,
So
we can hear you.
Please go ahead, sir.
Yes.
Yes, you're clear now.
Yeah, okay. Yes. By the way, my name is a short introduction. My name is Dr. Venkata Rayudu, as Latha Murthy madam told, and I have done my research in educational institutions and leadership. I'm also working as CEO and directors in various educational institutions. This is the third conference that I'm attending from Khizer Technologies. I think we had 3 conferences in the same month, and Latha Murthy madam is hosting the conferences. And I also appreciate Latha Murthy madam and Khizer Technologies, Khizer, for conducting this kind of programs for the educationists and also parents or teachers or any kind of stakeholders of the schools and educational institutions. See, today the topic given to me is how did education evolve? See, I am given a very, I think all of you know whatever I tell, but even then I will start here. Latha Murthy madam, who invented the school? This is a question shooted by you. Okay, this is the person who invented the school. That is Forest man. Okay, and in United States, uh, invented school. And what is today the United States modern school system? He was born in 1796. Okay, I don't want to go deep into this. Who invented the school? So in our school systems, there are different boards, and there is a lot of war between parents to select the board. It is CBSE or ICSE, or ICSE to IB or IGCSE, or which school or which board to select is the main confusion in the parents. And coming to the education system, there we started with the Gurukula model, and now we are coming to modern digital classrooms. So let us step by step understand from Gurukula model to modern digital classroom. See, when Gurukulams were established, they assumed that the age of a human being is 100, and till the age of 25, the student will be learning as a student. Okay, so other 75 years is divided into different parts. Okay, but the human life is not 100 years now. Even I think my grandfather also is not alive till 100 years. Okay, so my father left us at the age of somewhere around 60, 65. Okay, and what is the, I want everyone to involve in this. At present, what is the human being's age that they are living in this world? Can you type in the chat box what is the age that we can expect that human being can survive in this on this planet? Can you just type, all of you, in the chat box? 70, okay. Dinesh Kumar 70, 70 to 75, Udhay Shankar, Madhu 70 to 100, okay. 70, okay. 81, okay. Okay. 60 plus, okay. Reality nowadays 60 to 70, 60 to 70, yes. So now I think we need to modify our education system. See, let us talk about first education system. See, what is education system? Why we are running this education system? What we want to give to the child born on this planet? So we want to give knowledge for the child. So there is a triangle round to this knowledge. One is intelligence, number two is values, number three is skills. These are the things what we need to inject to get the knowledge. So, see, in Gurukulam training methodology, so first they used to give mind training aptitudes and soft skills, and then move to brain training technical and hard skills. At present education system, first they are giving brain training like technical data and hard skills, and next they are moving for mind training, aptitude and soft skills. This is the difference between Gurukulam training methodology and present education system. Am I right? Can you type that I am right?
Yes.
Am I right, participants? Can you follow me? Just type I am right, or if I am right, I am right, or if I am wrong, if I am wrong. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, very good. See what are in education system, as I told you, what are hard skills and soft skills. So hard skills are like arts, literature, history, geography, social science, civics, fine arts, like painting, sculpting, dance, music, drama. And in science, physics, chemistry, biology, in biology, botany, zoology. These are called as hard skills. And soft skills, mind development, communication skills, IQ, intelligence quotient, EQ, emotional quotient, interpersonal relationship, team building, and moral values. These are the soft skills. So what we are doing in present education system is, first we are training the brain, like technical data and hard skills. These are the technical data and hard skills, art, science, and everything. Okay. Next, we are going for mind training aptitude. That is soft skills. That is mind development, common skills, IQ, EQ, interpersonal skills, team building, and moral values. See, now in Gurukulam system, it is quietly opposite. Now what we need to do? Now what we need to do? See, in English system, that is a present system, first we'll train the brain, okay, like hard skills and teachings. Later we train the soft skills like communication and all this. In Indian traditional Gurukulam system, we train the mind first. We train the mind, build respect, receptacle, develop soft skills, later technical training like arts and science, what we are doing in Gurukul. See, in this at present generation, what are the skills that are required for this digital world? These are the skills: digital skills, cognitive skills, social emotional skills, which are useful for skills for digital society and learning in digital environment. Okay, skills for a digital world of work. These are the skills required for the at present generation. So let us see the little research made by McGraw Education in partnership with Hanover Research has 3,000 students voice their digital preferences in college education. In the study, 81% of students say digital learning technology is helping them boost their grades. And 71% students engage more with digital course material. And 97 students found adaptive learning technology helpful in retention. And 84% students say digital will enhance knowledge. And 45% students want to learn on personal device. And 78% college students confess that digital learning is helping them improve computer science, mathematics, and other technical skills. And 79% of the students prefer online quiz, adaptive learning, and e-textbooks in learning. So this is the difference what we are seeing in this new generation. So even we are also, there are areas of improvement addressed by assistive technology. There are development in reading, writing, memory, listening, mathematics, organization, building access, physical mobility, social interactions, athletic participation. These are the areas of improvement addressed by assistive technology. And assistive technology for learners and in-class activities like light signals, touch screens, screen readers, screen magnifiers, text-to-speech, vans and joysticks, sip and puff system, alternative keyboards, voice recognition softwares, braille browsers, and refreshable braille displays. All these are the assistive technologies for learning and in-class activities. And assistive technologies for physical mobility are ramps, openers, scooters, grab bars, wheelchairs, handheld GPS units, automatic doors, wheel doorways, adapted car seats, and all these are the assistive technology for physical mobility. So what we need to do is we need to blend traditional, modern, and digital technology, and we should adopt all the technologies and we should blend all this and we should give to the new generation. Then only we can achieve, and our children can achieve the technology and they can learn the traditional skills and modern skills. We can't just, as we told, we can't only give mind training. After that, we can do brain training. And we can't give like brain training first or mind training next. So we should parallelly train the brain along with the mind, and also along with this, lot of skills also should be trained which are coming into the market, which students will get evolved, and slowly that shift is happening in this world. That shift already happened in this corona lockdown and everything, what I feel is. So my dear participants, see, don't think traditionally or don't think modern or don't think digital. See, we should blend all these traditional, modern and digital things, and we should parallelly train the students in all the methods, everything. Because as we discussed in the beginning, lifespan of human being is 100, now it came down to 60. So we need to divide that 60 into 4, and we should calculate the education. Previously, we used to, our education system used to be from somewhere around 3 years to somewhere around 25 years. But now education became continuous. Now education became continuous. Even the 60 years, 40 years, 50 years, everyone is learning and learning and learning. Should be continuous. Learning should be continuous. So there's no stop of learning, but there should be, I feel that whatever the evolution happening in this world is right for the age, for the generation which we are living and everything. So this is my presentation, and this is the evolution what I feel that is happening. And it's also a lot of shift happened from traditional to modern and modern to digital. And most of the students or children in this world are adopting all these methods, and whatever they want they are learning. And in Gurukulam system there is only one teacher to teach everything, and in our school also we have one teacher for one subject. Now when digital is evolved, now they have a lot of teachers for lot of subjects. So this is the evolution what is happening in this world. And with these few words, I expect all of you who understood what I told, and it's up to Latha Murthy madam. Thank you madam for giving me this opportunity, and Khizer Ahmed, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Dr. Venkata Rayudu. Audiences, do you have any questions to ask Dr. Venkata Rayudu? You can say, you can talk. Nothing? You're thinking?
Venkat sir, Udhay here.
Yes,
Specific
sir.
question. As educated field, sir, are you happy with digitalization or are you not?
Yeah, definitely. You can't escape from digitalization because it is forcing the parent, it is forcing the student, it is forcing the even teacher and all the stakeholders of the who are in the education. It is forcing to adopt. What I feel is, actually recently we attended a conference in Coimbatore. So there I'm into as a panel member. So when they asked that when this education system is going to shift from normal traditional education system to digital, one senior most person came from Tirupati. He expressed that it takes nearly 50 years. And one more person told it will take another 10 years. And one more senior most person told it will take another 2 or 3 years. But I told that already shift happened. Already shift happened in this modern and whatever you asked, the technology already involved in the system. If you accept or not, you should. It is forcing you to adopt that system. What I feel, sir.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Very true. Anybody else?
So Dr. Vijay has asked the question, can differentiate mind and brain in a sentence?
Mind means man. Okay. Brain is brain, you know, brain. See, soft skills are trained for your heart. Okay. Brain is trained for the knowledge and everything, isn't it? So what we want to tell you is, I want to tell you is, like, you should prepare your mind and brain together. Did I answer you properly, or you want some more?
Dr. Vijay? She's happy.
Yes. Okay. I think Manisha needs to unmute herself to talk.
Sir, here there is, in this slide you can see, brain is buddhi. Okay. And mind is mana. So brain, when we are training in the brain, first we'll take hard skills like teach, art, science. Later we'll go for we're going for soft skills and everything. Okay. Mind is man. Build a receptacle, develop soft skills, training all the skills regarding their attitude, regarding their everything. We train our mind. What I understood is this. If you can give better explanation, we'll be happy. Anyone, kindly please. A good question. What is posted?
Thank you so much, audience, as well as Dr. Venkata Rayudu. It was a nice explanation. And there are some answers and some sentences being put on the chat. I think when the other speaker is speaking at that point of time, you can answer them, Dr. Venkata Rayudu. And now we have Mr. I just had to read his, yes, Mr. Balachandar M. Gandekar. And he is a producer, director, scriptwriter, editor, cameraman, photographer, author, and publisher. He is the founder of 4C Multimedia Private Limited, Hoopstars.in, Hoopla Club, The Fifth Mug. We welcome you, sir. We would like to hear on how has education improved and changed in the last 10 years for the educators. You have to unmute yourself, Mr. Balachandar. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now it's clear.
Thanks, Dr. Latha, and hello everybody. Okay, I'm a filmmaker who's been in the business of filmmaking for the last 30 years. And my expertise is documentaries. I love documentaries. And in that, my expertise is mental health. Okay. About 15 years back, I started a magazine for children called Hoopla Club. And the journey in the last 15 years of being a documentary filmmaker and a publisher of a children's magazine actually exposed me to a whole new world of parenting, child development, and education. Okay? So somewhere in the journey, I realized a lot of things were happening which were actually brushed under the carpet. And that led to me the first question. It was between 2001 to 2020 when technology was creeping into people's lives. And everything changed as far as education is concerned in those 20 years period actually. Now, the problem is we have never asked ourselves one question. Well, how do we define education? I think the education is today misconceived as, literacy is being misconceived as education. I think education goes far beyond just doing your first to 10th standard, 11th standard, 12th standard engineering or whatever it is. And that is where we are being affected. When I meet people, they ask me very interesting questions. Or they ask me, tell me things like, oh, my child is very smart. Now, as I go deeper into asking them what it is, they say, okay, he can, he operates my computer. Oh, I had a problem with mobile phone, he was getting into it. Is that the level of smartness we are looking at? Is that what we are going to define in the 21st century as smartness? The second thing, most parents come and tell me, my child doesn't do anything. Now, my answer to them is basically, have you ever told the child what to do? Because somewhere along the line, we're forgetting one basic aspect. The children need to be brought up. They don't just grow up. And that's something we have stopped understanding. Okay? Then we have other things to say. Today, everything is available on internet. The internet only has information. It doesn't disseminate it the way it should be done. And the fourth, which is very scary, I met one of the students from one of the reputed college, and she had just passed out, and she came to my office to look for work. And we agreed on terms and conditions. And when I offered a particular salary, she said, no, I can't work for the salary. So I said, why not? She said, no, I've been told by my teachers that I should not accept anything beyond a particular amount. See, somewhere the whole education system is not answering these questions. And that's where I have an issue with as a filmmaker and a publisher. Okay? If we talk to entrepreneurs who are in the business for, say, about 1 or 2 decades at least, you will hear each of them complain about one thing. Where are the people? Where are the good workers? Where are the people who can add value to what you're doing? And it's not just me. Trust me, I've been running a business for 30 years now. And I have seen a deterioration in the quality of people in the last 30 years. Why is that? Is it the education system's fault somewhere? And again, when students come to me or people come to me after their classes, they have no guidance. They don't seem to be guided. They have no clue what to do next. They have all paid lots of money, gone to good colleges, finished their education, got their certification, or whatever you call it, and they come out and they have no clue. And somewhere in the whole process, technology has really, created an impact because they see things on social media and other stuff. And they've got a totally false perception of how the world is. So when you look at education, that's exactly what has changed. Okay, people are not in touch with reality, and that is something even schools or colleges are not talking about. I think that's where the difference the last 10 years is. So today, what's education? Today, education is all about delivering facts. Nobody makes an effort today to actually get the child to appreciate the spirit of the subject. Because what we forget is everything we learn has a purpose in today's life, in the way we are going about things. If you look at the latest case of Corona, which is a hot topic right now, people went back 100 years to see what was the treatment being delivered over the time to actually find solutions to today's problem. So history has a value, geography has a value, maths has a value. Why aren't we taught how to appreciate that or respect it or actually look at the importance of that in today's world? Are the teachers making a mistake? I don't know. There's a lot of confusion about, is the quality of teachers come down? Maybe, maybe not, but I met some wonderful teachers. So where are we going wrong? We still don't have an answer for it. Then the second level we have got is, in the last 10 years, this is something I'm sure all of you agree upon, is the interference of parents in the education. All of us, we have gone through education, we have studied. Did our parents ever come to school and talk to the teacher about what they felt? They didn't. Why are the parents interfering? So, the teacher is stuck between a lot of things. Unlike, say, 10, 15 years back, when the school and the teachers possibly had much more freedom to do what they want to do. So possibly we had a much better set of teachers who were actually involved in the job. So there is a deterioration in that process. That's what I feel we are getting into, where we are coming from. And why should education stop only at schools? And don't the parents have a responsibility? Nobody seems to understand that. So, the whole social situation as far as education is concerned is deteriorating over the last 10 years. The parents are confused, the teachers are confused, the students in the whole process are totally confused. And who's being affected? It's the students. So I think somewhere we need to, stop and look back and say, hey, has education improved? Or we're just churning out, students. Just, and the other thing is what we are missing out. Today people talk of technology. Technology is just a tool. It's just a tool, and that's something we're all forgetting. We are forgetting the content that goes into the tool. The kind of dissemination of information or knowledge is still human. You might have artificial intelligence coming in, you can have any other technology coming in, but ultimately it's still the human who's going to connect. It's ultimately the human who's going to connect as far as empathy is concerned, as far as knowledge is concerned. It is good. So we are mistaking our human interaction and looking at technology. Like I said again, it's just a tool. And why are we giving so much of importance? And that is exactly what is deteriorating the education standards across the globe. It's not just in India. It's across the globe, people are facing the same problem. Okay? We're talking of digital learning. Now, yes, there is digital learning, but then you need to have access to how to go about it, how to learn from it. You have a Google with thousands and thousands of tons of information. But you should know what to access. You should know how to decide between the right and the wrong. Or what is really out there which is useful to you. We just are not developing these. We're not developing these aesthetics in a child's mind. So, the pressure today, I think in the last 15 years, the pressure on a child is so immense that there is a huge rise in mental health issues among children. How many are really answering that? How many are prepared to worry about that? See, these are things, that's what I mean by education. Education is not just about writing your exams papers or getting marks for your few subjects. It is all about development of the child. His knowledge, like you said, mind, brain, body, whatever. It's a total overall personality development, which is not being addressed. You go to any school, everyone is so stressed out. Why? Syllabus. You just want to finish the syllabus and go next. And parents want the same thing too. I mean, I have heard parents who don't like teachers who don't give homeworks, which is a sad story. So how is a child going to interact? Today, a child out there does not know how to communicate, does not know about teamwork, does not have empathy. You know, is it what we are trying to bring out to the next generation? I mean, is that what you call education? So the whole thing, what we really need to address is what is education? You know, and I think once we address that, I think there'll be reduction in the syllabus that we are going to teach. There'll be possibly more time for people to interact, more time to share things, more time to build a nice community, which is very positive. You know, so why can't we look at that? And I think today is a perfect scenario where we can bring about a change in the whole education system. It's just perfect. Yes, some things can go online, some things can go on ground, and there could be a lot more time given for the child to develop. I think schools, where the teachers and the parents should actually interact much more on a positive level and see what can happen tomorrow. Because let me tell you one thing, the needs of tomorrow is going to be very, very different from today. 10 years from now, even 5 years from now, let me tell you, I can assure you, and I'm sure all of you agree with this, that your marks card will hold almost no value. They are going to look at you in terms of creativity. They are going to look in terms of your, attitude. They are going to look in terms of your leadership qualities. So that doesn't come in by learning things, by doing your maths, English, physics. No, they don't. It comes with a lot more other things, which we call extra or co-curriculum. So what has happened in the last 10 years is technology has confused the hell of what education should be. Smart boards came to school about what? At least about 10 years back. But as a film production house, I know we're dealing with it. I know schools who have introduced it 10 years back. What happened? Nothing. It's not being used. I'm sure there are a lot of teachers and principals on this panel who are listening to this. How many of you actually use the smart boards? None of you. There's a whole system now which says, hey, teachers need to go online to teach. How many teachers are qualified to do it? Teaching in front of a camera or teaching online is very, very different. And it is difficult for people who are not used to it. So have we trained them? Will we be training them? How long will they take to get used to it? And is it the same connect? And there is fear that children are going to be having online education for 6 hours a day. Can you imagine what's going to happen to the child's life? I mean, is it what we as parents, we as the people who are supposed to groom them, are going to let it happen to them? So, it's not about changes. When we say change, we are not looking at change as a total evolution. We are still comparing it between, is it going to be technology driven or it's going to be human driven? I don't think it's a choice at all. Both of them have to be in combo. There is no choice. Technology is still a tool. You can't go beyond it, come what may. Okay, so that's where we are looking at. I mean, look at I'm personally worried about the mental health scenario of children. Bangalore is known as a suicide capital. Did any of you know that? Do you know how many children jump off roofs today? Every day. We hear about it once in a while in papers. But the truth is a lot more is happening out there. So are we going to address that as part of education? Or are we just going to say 1 + 1 = 2? And say, okay, now what is 1 + 1? 2. Good, you are passed. Is it what we're going to look at? I think what we need to really do is, can we look back and say, what has happened honestly in the last 10 years? Has technology really interfered or added value? Because it's a brilliant tool. I'll give you an example. When I joined the Film Institute in the 80s, the best thing about the Film Institute was the film archives, where we saw the world's best films, cinema. Today, the cinema is available on your net. on your comp. Sitting at home, you can watch world cinema. That is the beauty of technology. But that doesn't mean that the technology can make films. No. You know, it's like somebody asking me, when I tell them I'm a filmmaker, you know what the first question asks me? Which camera? The camera doesn't take pictures. I take pictures, the camera is a tool. And that is the confusion we are not trying to understand as far as even education is concerned. So a lot of investment going on in technology, but is the same investment going into teachers, training, parent training, for example? I think parent needs to be trained too. I'm sure most of the audience out there is a parent. Don't you agree with what's happening out there? Why are we so paranoid? This new term called helicopter parenting. It's all evolved in the last few years. So where are we trying to bring about the change now? And I think now is almost the perfect time to bring about the change. You know, I don't know how many of us, I can't make out how many are there on the participating on today's call, but who
we
is
have
here?
around, yes, we have around 42.
Perfect. So you've got 42 people here. Okay? Can these 42, I mean, all of you are here on a Saturday afternoon because somewhere you care. Somewhere. Could be you don't know what to do with it, but you care. That's why you're spending your time here. Can these 42 of us become a small little community which actually becomes a catalyst towards change? Because all the 42 of us have something in common. And that's why we are here today. So can we be the catalyst? Instead of blaming people or, you know, or leaning onto technology or this, can we honestly look into what is going wrong in today's education? Can we be honest about ourselves, our children, our families, and say, hey, can we compare it to what we went during our childhood and compare it to today's child and say, is the child getting the same joy? You know, 99.9, you know, I was there in school and I was seeing this parents talk to this administrator and said, you know, something, how can my child improve? So the administrator asked the child, asked the parent, I said, how much did the child get? She said 96.8%. And you know what class the child was in? Second standard. I mean, is it what we are trying to build? You know, today we are having courses for children between age of fourth standard to sixth standard on career choices. I mean, tell me how many of us even today know what we are doing or we want to do? And do you really think you need to put that kind of pressure on a child? That is the change we've got. Our parents never even bothered as to what we are going to do. I mean, you know, we just formed a school group, you know, about 40-year-old back, back 40 years back. And we're actually discussing about our school days. And all we remember is wonderful stuff which our teachers taught us. Today, when I talk to the kids in school, they think, I'm bored. Oh, history is boring. Oh, that is not happening. They don't seem to have the energy that should be there. They don't interact. They don't talk to each other. You know, and it's all agenda driven. Where is the joy of childhood? That is the change which has happened in the last 10 years. The joy of childhood is gone. You know, there's something which we are destroying, and what we are not seeing is the impact in the future. None of us are willing to see what's happened in the future. And you know, what we are on a very selfish note, okay? Imagine 10 years, 15 years down the line when we get older and the younger generation is supposed to take care of us, what a mess. Think of what's going to happen. You know, so why can't we as a team, I mean, see, I believe there's a purpose in everything I do. There needs to be a purpose. And since we're all here together, the 45, 49 of us or whatever, can we get together somewhere, even post this interaction and say, hey, can we bring about a small change in our surroundings in terms of education? And when I say education, it need not be the schools. It can be what happens at home. Because I still believe the home is the place where education starts and continues. You know, and I think that's very, very critical. Because, you know, again, I'm sorry to tell so many stories, but this is what I'm experiencing as a filmmaker and a publisher of children's magazine. I went to a school once, I was sitting with the principal, it's a very upper middle, you know, level school, whatever you call it. And there is this parent who barges in and says, I'm going to sue the school. So the principal was very, she was shocked to begin with and said, what happened? You know what the parent said? How dare you let my child fall in the games period? This is exactly what the parents said. Now, if this is what we are going to do, so where is the change? Where is the change we are looking at? There's a change in the parents. They are not letting things go happen. So education is not, again, like I keep repeating, it is not school alone. It is a total society which educates an individual. And all our lives we are learning, we are growing, but we need to be educated. And education is a wholesome story. And the earlier we get out of this obsession for marks within 99.8 to 99.7, trust me, the future doesn't look great. And I'm not being cynical. I'm very, very optimistic. I even started I believe people are doing wonderful stuff. I know there are lots of wonderful things happening out there. I even started an engagement platform called the League of Action Heroes on Hoopsters, where I am building a community by roping in these people who are doing this wonderful stuff. Because today nobody seems to encourage that. We love gossips, we love scandals, we love people failing, but there are wonderful things happening. I am trying to put it together. But what really bothers me is the way things are deteriorating. And luckily as a filmmaker, I get access to people. I get to meet people. I get to talk to people.
Wonderful.
And I enjoy that. And across the platform, it's wonderful learning. So I think we must relook at education. Fine, we got to study maths, we got to study the logarithms, we need to study all that, fair enough. But can we tell the people, hey, history has got an impact in today's life. Instead of making a child feel, oh my God, history. Can we evolve teachers who can teach that? Can we evolve parents who can tell the child, hey, history is beautiful. Not blame the teacher and say, what a lousy teacher. Can we build that system where each one respects each other and says, hey, each one's doing a job genuinely. And in the process, we have a child who's evolving. That is the deterioration which happened last 10 years. We can evolve that. And I think now is the perfect time for that to happen. We all realize that we are powerless against a stupid little virus. For all our egos, you can throw it out of the window. We have no power. So if we can swallow the egos we got, if we can swallow the, the stupidities we have, and re-look at the system. It's perfect. Online is coming in, wonderful. Technology is coming in, wonderful. Can we get the human element back? The human element is missing. Can we get the child to be creative? Can we get the child to be multi-skilled? Can we get the child to be have social values? Can we get a child to be able to communicate? Today, children don't know how to communicate. I'm sure when you are sitting with your friends in your room, in your living room, and your child walks in, how many of them know how to address the friends who are there in your group? Do they come and say, hello, uncle, or hello, so-and-so, whatever? They don't. They run into their rooms. We are not helping them evolve. I think that deterioration is what's going to be the disaster tomorrow. And why can't we build empathy? It's lost. Empathy is just gone. Can we bring it back? Don't ask me how, why, but I'm trying. And all of us, the 50 of us here, if we can each contribute one small bit, I'm sure it might make a small difference, at least in our society, our surroundings. So I think what we need to do is safeguard the emotional and the mental well-being of a child. Because without that, all your education can go down the drain. It doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter what we're going to teach, which Oxford University, you name it, people go to, they go to Milan for something, I don't know what for. They go to New York for something. I got filmmakers from India who do a BA and go to study photography. And there's somebody who went to Prague to study cinematography. And I asked him, I said, there's no sunlight in Prague, so what are you going to learn cinematography? So anyway, just jokes apart. But this is what's happening. They're trying to run away. People don't want to face the film industry. So they'll go and do their masters. They'll go and do a PhD.
Yes.
I want to make films. No, they'll not do that.
Very truly said.
Pardon?
We'll have to limit our time as well. I understand. Sure. It's very interesting what you're speaking.
This is where I'm coming from. And I think we need to look at education. There has been a change, but the change is not for the good. So I can request the 50 of us, if we can reconnect post this event and see how well we can contribute to bring about change. That's all I have to say, right? Thank you.
Definitely. Yes. So we have to bring in a change to be a change. in ourselves first.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was well spoken. Audience, if you have any questions to ask Mr. Balachandar.
Thank you, Bala sir. It's like really wonderful listening to you. It's like you spoke my mind. Just one quick question. So, as a filmmaker, are you doing something to talk about this change that has to come?
Yes, I'm making films on mental health to begin with as a profession, but I've started a whole platform called Hoopsters, which is an engagement platform for children, parents, and schools to actually bring about. You can go. I'll send you. You can send me your email ID. I'll send the whole thing concept to you, and it's all about the putting together a community of change makers. Because I am trying to absolutely identify, encourage, and reward people who make small difference in the world. It could be a child who helps the mom in the kitchen. It could be a child who helps dad clean the car. Or it could be a parent who has struggled hard to bring about a child. Grow up, and get the child grow up. No, these people are not recognized. So where is the inspiration around? Where is the motivation for them or others? Where are the good stories for me to feel energized? So I have built a community, and we are looking at two major issues. One is building this community of change makers or action heroes, which whom I call action heroes. And the second is we are starting this whole program called Beautiful Minds, where we are trying to simplify mental health. The problem with mental health today is the most exploited zone. It's the most exploited. People bring the fear of God into you. And we have been working with some of the top minds in the industry, in the mental health industry, who are supporting me, being with me. And we are designing a whole package where we're trying to simplify understanding mental health. Today, they say mental health, they say depression.
Thank you, sir.
No, it's not true.
Very well said. Very well said, Mr. Balachandar. And thank you so much, Mr. Udhay, for that question. It was excellent. And there are some responses on the chat, Mr. Balachandar. After you finish with your speaking right now, I think you can start responding to them through chat.
Oh, I'm on a mobile phone. Let me see. I can't see it. I can't see it.
No, you can see. You can get that.
Yeah, I will do that. I'll do that.
You can do that. And now, next speaker, we have Mr. Madhu Satyanarayan.
Hello, everybody.
And he's going to speak to us about how does technology benefit education and educators. He is a serial entrepreneur, business development advisor, humanitarian, managing partner for BizWings Production House, founder for Spellbee League, global project director, enterprise and governments, AI and robotics, and Trescon Global. He is a consultant for hoopsters.in. We welcome you, Mr. Madhu Satyanarayan.
Thank you, Dr. Latha, and thank you so much, Bala, and the rest of the Dr. Venkata as well, for making my topic very interesting. Now you have been asking me about how technology has helped us, and we've been having a lot of discussions on how technology has not helped us in a lot of ways. But the best start for this evening with this topic is something that I've interestingly read about and wanted to talk about it. So I quote, it's our inability to practice discipline around the use of technology is what is ruining us as our lives, but not technology itself. So like Bala and the rest of you believe that technology itself is a wonderful tool. So all of this is happening today between us is because of technology. And we're talking about today, you want to talk to somebody in US, Australia, wherever it is. We have people joining from there at any given point of time using technology. And today, for some reason, for whatever capacity that we can talk, the education for children is catered to a lot of areas where humans can't reach. Let's say, for example, I was in one of the areas in Cambodia. There are refugees who are there. The children couldn't have access to good teachers, or they do not have. So we apparently had to help them on an online platform where they can learn. Today, the parents are, families are able to communicate in English, where they can earn their bread and butter by selling anything and having a normal communication. And the children are able to read and write. Now, that is the beauty of technology, that it has been enabling us to do, or enabling us to reach people where normally we cannot reach. And that's the upside of technology is concerned. But as rightly said by Bala and the rest, Dr. Venkat as well, it's how much too much it is where we have to ask our questions. Now, the other best example which I have always learned is technology is more like a medicine or as a fitness. Now, what happens is now everybody's purpose of using technology is completely different. Now, if my child is very excited about coding, or my child is very excited about, animation, or if there is the requirement for them to sit in front of the system, or the time that they enjoy in the process is much better than I'm sitting and watching my Doraemons or Pokemons on my Netflix or some series on Netflix. Both of them are using the screen. Both of them are still getting some information or other. Both of them are exposed to technology. But how much of that is right for what purpose? So that is where technology's biggest flaw, or humans' biggest flaw in utilizing technology lies. Where, because we do not know where to stop or where to increase it. Because if I want to indulge in fitness, I could be a 70-year-old person, and all of a sudden I want to get my six-pack abs, and I can't go lift 100 kgs, right? But for me as well, equally the fitness level is equally important for me. I need to hit the gym as well, like a 25-year-old. It's equally important for a 70-year-old and a 25-year-old. And technology is basically that, So that is where I would like to say technology has immense impact on our lives, and it has a huge reach compared beyond human reach is where technology reaches, is where we were talking about. And the third aspect, which is also the most essential aspect, which I would also pick up from Bala and Dr. Venkat, is now we need coders, we need artificial intelligence, we're talking about robotics. But in the process of the learning, if the purpose is not delivered, that's when technology loses its complete credibility. Now, it's the same technology is used by a Al-Qaeda guy or any of the names terrorist organization to build a supersonic or a nuclear bomb. That's the same technology that is built by our defense in order to protect our nations from those attacks that happens. Both are technology. All right. So this is where my thought process of technology is, because if we are able to get the emotional quotient or the human aspect and a purpose towards the usage of anything in our life, irrespective of technology or education or whatever the topic that we are trying to indulge in, that is where the biggest thought change process should come into play as to how much too much of a technology is. Now, best examples for all the parents and educationists here is whether you go talk about people who have spoiled or got us addicted to technology, whether it is Google or whether it is Mark Zuckerberg's family or any of these families which you're talking about. They themselves follow a very strict policy of no technology in the first hour of the day, no technology in the last hour of the day. And there is an ample amount of screen time that is dedicated to the entire family. So they don't. So we have only taken the aspect which are very comfortable and not understanding driven, where we can just use it rather than taking it more, which is rightful for each of our lives. I don't need to, get up in the morning 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock and put my television on, and or the Ken Webber, who is one of the people who started the SpaceX, where they're starting private journey to space. He says he watches news only for 5 minutes in a day, so he doesn't sit in front of the TV and watch the news for the entire day. So they have designed their life, or they have designed their habits of usage of technology to suit their requirement and the purpose. That is what we generally fail to do in our lives. And that is exactly where I would say, or I would not take much of your time. I think there are a lot of people we need to talk about. But I feel very strongly that technology is a very, very important tool. And this is something which I have discussed with few of the educationists, which I've tried to speak about intervention of technology in education. Most of the educationists feel that their job is at stake because of new technology coming in play. So they're very blocked in terms of embracing technology. But all I had to, when a couple of discussions that I had to tell them is, no, these are just a tool. Your knowledge and your wisdom or all those things cannot be replaced by technology. Technology is an enhancer of it to multiply the reach of what you already know. That's only technology today. Now you want to reach parents before you have to make 100 diary notes and say that tomorrow this is your child's remarks. Now instead of that, like Microsoft, Google, and all of them have come with rooms, chat rooms, or even WhatsApp, where you can leave a message saying that, hey, tomorrow is this meeting, we'll all come together, let's meet. So that has made our life easier, right? So that has made it more simpler for everybody. But we can't say that don't come to the classroom because you can learn from home. Right? Or the second thing, which is the most, I would say, sorry for the terminology, but the most stupidest thing that most of the thought process in children that is developing as a community that we have tried to put in their minds is that Google has answers for everything. Right? So it's information and knowledge are two different things. The moment we try to help children understand that information is not knowledge, right? So information, I can go to a library and get whatever books I say I have seen. So Google is nothing but a huge library, which is on your fingertips. But depending on what you enjoy in that library, whether I want to go and read something related to, mythology, or should I read something related to fiction, that's something that we educate or nurture in the mind of our future troopers, is what I would say. And that's how I would say technology is amazing as a boon in terms of reaching out to the magnificent set of the people across the globe. Because today, if I want to talk to a teacher and exchange my information who sits in US on some topic, I can still get access to them. If I have to go to NASA, I think we had this on one of the conferences, Dr. Latha, when we had previously, that Microsoft has a program where they directly have access to NASA people in sitting at the school steps. Children are getting exposure to these things, which is an amazing aspect of technology, but that shouldn't let go of their thought process saying that I can have everything on my fingertips, because including a coder today who sits and does the code, which is already available on Google, whether it is artificial intelligence or robotics, it is the purpose that drives the entire technological change that is there. Now, in healthcare, somebody can fix your health, checking what is your issue without even touching you. That's what technology has done, artificial intelligence has done. And that can replicate your thought process, that can understand your brain. But that was also created by humans. Artificial intelligence didn't become itself. That was done by humans. So that thought process, so a human brain is always a way ahead of technology. But the only aspect that we are missing is when the technology quotient, we are almost there on the top of the ladder. But as the technology is growing, our emotional quotient or our these imparting of basic nitty-gritties of our life has taken a back seat, is where I come from. So let's all use technology, but let's use technology very responsibly, is what I would like to say at the end.
Excellent.
Up for questions. Yes,
and
up for questions if you have
got any questions to ask him, but I like the word that he used, a sentence. Information is not knowledge. Excellent. Very true. Information is not knowledge. Information is information. Very true. Audience, you have any questions to ask?
I like the part where Mr. Madhu spoke about technology quotient, where he said it's all about balance.
Balance, yes.
It's like saying no matter what you have, discipline is there, everything is good. So it's a very wonderful point. Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that, Mr. Madhu Satyanarayan.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. And in case you have any comments, responses on the chat, please answer them.
Sure, definitely.
And next we have Mrs. Usha Mohan. She is the director of the Bangalore School. She trains teachers and places them in K-12 school. She is an MA, MEd, and IELT trained in Dubai. She is an educational consultant for CBSE, ICSE, and IGCSE schools situated in Bangalore and Hyderabad. She has her own consultancy called K12consultants.com. She recruits for top international schools. We welcome you, Mrs. Usha Mohan. And
thank you so much.
Today, your welcome. Your topic would be, what are the roles and responsibilities of an educator or of educators in the life of the students? And you have heard about what Dr. Venkata Rayudu said, and Mr. Balachandar and Madhu Satyanarayan. So that's where we stand now, and you'll have to explain, and you have to give some tips what they are, how our generation is going to follow.
Absolutely. The teachers are very, very close to me. Anyway, thanks for the introduction. And the other panelists, excellent. They had kept their viewpoints. And I'm always for it that the teachers, there's a paradigm shift which has happened in the field of education. And the teachers who are actually the pillars of education, or we can say schools, they are the ones who are ready to adapt any kind of changes. It's like survival of the fittest. And if you don't, then you don't have the jobs. So it's that kind of a thing, and the passion, of course. So if I say teacher, Teacher, they teach, the teachers educate all children, all, and C is children. And I'm talking about teachers educate all children holistically, enthusiastically, without racial discrimination. That's what I define teachers as. But if the teachers actually are going to change from 20 years back, if you see what kind of teaching was happening, the Gurukula system, which Mr. Dr. Venkat had put in, and Ms. Bala has been talking about, we talk about the Gurukula system from that time. If you see, there is a paradigm shift in the pedagogy. So I like to share, I think I have to double click this and share it. And I'm sharing the screen, so is it visible? Is it visible, Latha?
No, ma'am, not it.
Not yet. I think I have to double click.
Khizer?
I have to double click the share screen. Then do it.
You need to be the host.
Please click on share screen button.
Yes. Oh, I'm not able to screen share. Share. Okay. Can I think now I'm visible.
Yes,
right?
you're visible.
Yes. So I was just talking about this, like the kind of Gurukula system, what is existing. And if you see the research-oriented learning happening now, so there is a vast difference which has happened last 20 years. So what is happening in the first picture as seen in the Gurukula system? The roles and responsibilities of the teacher is totally different. It's a lecture method. The teacher teaches, of course, there's a passion, there is a kind of a delivery which is happening, everything is happening. He doesn't use a technology or a tool or a activity, but he still delivers what he has delivered. But in this situation, which you see, it's more of a control situation. I am a controller and I control situations. I control the class, I control the children, I control the activity. But today, from the controlling or controller, the kind of the responsibilities and the roles, it's completely reversed, and it has become like a facilitator. And now we're talking about digitalization of everything, and in that the teacher becomes only facilitating things happening. And if you see in this one, and you can see that There is a classroom in which the teacher is teaching, and there is a blackboard. It's a chalk and talk method. So in this, the children definitely are listening to a teacher. But do you think that any kind of conversation happening, or is the child very happy, in listening to it? Half of them would be not even listening and probably dreaming. So here you can see the other picture, which is there right next to it. The teacher is an involved teacher. So the roles of a teacher come in the picture, and that we call it as science, technology, engineering, and art and mathematics. We combine, or we actually, all the subjects are absolutely seamlessly integrated, and the teacher also is involved and trying to help the child. So from a controlling environment, the teacher becomes a prompter. So the roles have become as a prompter. So we still call it as a 19th or a 20th century teaching as a prompter. So from the prompter, he has to become a resource person. Resource person means where he is an abundant of a person who is having a lot of resource and lot of ideas in his mind, where the child comes to him to understand what he has to do next, probably giving instructions. All right. So that is like an organizer. So from the left picture, if you see, that's an old picture of a 2009, 1909, and where the teacher is explaining to a class and a child is just looking at them. All the children are just sitting in one place. But here you can see the other picture. The children are very excited. They're very happy. And the teacher is trying to guide them. So she becomes a guide. She becomes a counselor. She becomes a kind of a mentor to them. So this is the role which has drastically changed over the period of about, say, 20 years, which you can see. And again, if you see here, the teacher on the left, the person who is there, she's guiding the children. She is telling them what to do, and she's an organizer. So there is a different kind of roles which is the teacher has been playing for last 20 years. And I think the teachers are amazing, I must say, because according to the pedagogy, how it's changed, according to environment, how it's changed, according to the jargonic words, what we use in the class. We sometimes say Reggio Emilia, which we use. It is an Italian curriculum, and we mix and match with an Indian curriculum. The teacher is ready to adapt, ready to learn. And on the right side, you can see the teacher is teaching all about real life situation, where the teacher is talking about the global warming and talking about the real life to connecting with the classroom teaching. So this is where the teachers have understood that as the globalization is happening, as there's a paradigm shift in our pedagogy, the teachers are knowing that they need not be just the ones who are setting question papers, who are just not organizing the things in the class and for children, but they also have to bring out the multi-talent and multi-skills of the children. I'm not saying that every schools are following this, but majority of the schools have undergone this. And of course, with the kind of the situation, kind of the era, I think the teachers have understood that this is what it's going to take them forward. And what is the role of a school to do that, to bring about this? So let me close this and then talk. So coming back to this. Yeah. So what I was trying to tell you is the teacher knows absolutely that. So this is the role which I have to play, because that I am in the era where technology is being used. So she is ready to learn all over. I have seen now, as digitalization is happening, the teacher is ready to teach online. It is very difficult task for a teacher to be an online teacher, where she has to face not face the crowd, not face the children, but still she has to go and use all kind of online tools. But don't you see that the teacher again is ready to pitch in and say, I'm ready to do this, because this is what we can see in this COVID time, in this Corona time, what the teachers are doing. So what I'm trying to tell you is that the roles and responsibilities of the teachers, it is actually to bring the holistic talent of the child out. The children are, I saw some of the people who are trying to comment and saying the children don't feel like coming to school. They get terribly bored to come to school. It all depends upon the teachers, how they motivate the child. And the motivation again is a kind of a different kind of methodology that the teacher can use in the class. So now if you see the curriculum, what's happening is much more like vast. We're talking about multiple intelligences. We talk about various kind of other methods which can be used in the class to teach a child. So the teacher, it knows that this is how I can bring the best out of my kid. So if the teacher can engage a child, we call it as an engagement, through kind of multiple tools or through multimedias or through kind of activity oriented learning which can happen. They say that, the child learns better, the child who's involves better. So I can see that the teacher's role is never been static. Right from the time 10 years or 20 years back, because I'm in the profession for the last 37 years, and I have seen various kind of teachers, the teachers who are absolutely like role models. They've never been using any activities, but they still are bonded with the children. And this era, I think that it's more of informal education. I saw Mr. Bala and Mr. Venkata talk about, somebody was talking about the Gurukula system, and that is nothing but actually a convergent education. So the convergent education to a divergent education, that is we call as a modern education, which happened during the Macaulay's time. So Lord Macaulay, I'm talking about the Britishers' time, when it was introduced, that again was quite boring for the children. But the thing is that they still could go through the textbooks, go through the pictures. Then the teachers tried to make it as interesting, probably took them outside the garden to do it. But their roles and responsibilities were limited to taking attendance in the classroom and probably, solving the problem over the child, if the child has a problem, and probably a few more things which the schools used to be giving them, saying that assembly roles or the multiple roles where the teachers used to perform in the school. But today, they are project managers, they are counselors, they are also doing the curriculum developers. And if you see, they have got multiple roles which they have to play in this last 2 years. I have noticed that teachers' roles have drastically changed. And I think it's high time for all the schools to do this instead of just sitting one behind the other, to do collaboration. I could see somebody actually writing a message sometime back and saying, can you elaborate what is collaborative education and why can't we talk about collaboration? But many of the schools are doing collaborative method of teaching. Collaboration is nothing but making the children educate the children or teaching the children in the smaller groups. And that can happen only when the numbers are small. And even if numbers are bigger, we can still try to divide them into smaller groups. And the smaller groups can be having the mentors, and probably teacher becomes a facilitator and she goes around the classroom and she tries to facilitate the activities happen. And that is collaboration. And collaboration brings out a lot of leadership quality. So again, another role of a teacher is to bring the leadership of a child out, to bring the critical thinking, talking about the life skills. So in fact, if we talk about STEAM curriculum, the life skills becomes the soul of the STEM or the STEAM. And today we added one more thing to it called the R, that is the reading. So stream, we call it, absolutely. So this stream, what we are actually using in the classroom, we're trying to integrate, and teacher is trying to become like a facilitator, and the collaboration is happening. We can see there's a lot of enjoyment, a lot of excitement, and there is no formal kind of relationship between the child and the teacher. And the child is not anymore saying good morning, good afternoon, putting the hands at the back and getting very scared. It's more of an informal kind of setup, and you can see even highs and hellos coming there. And that brings out the best, because you understand the psychology of a child. The moment you understand psychology of the child, your subject is done. Because if you're an English teacher or a math teacher, child will love you for what you are, because you're already bonded with the child. So there is a lot of responsibility on a teacher's head, apart from teaching the subject, apart from doing the assessment. But I also call it tutoring. And this tutoring is not the tutoring of only academic tutoring. It's beyond the classroom tutoring. So I'll try to concisely put it up together and say, if at all you want to bring up your school, you want to invest in your teachers, invest in them in such a way that they bring the best out of children, and see to it that the teacher is not only teaching only for the school, but even beyond the school activities. So it is like anywhere, everywhere learning, which is happening right now, that the children can learn from anywhere, everywhere. Plus also the teachers, the roles have to be done in such a manner, the teacher has to be trained in such a manner that teacher is able to relate to a child or connect to a child even back home. So it's again back to the Gurukula system, the way the teachers used to connect to the parents and the families. So it's happening right now when they're doing online education. The teachers are connecting to the families. And again, the mothers are going to be involved along with the children when the learning and teaching is happening. So I think again going back to the same era, but it's going to be technology oriented. So I think let me put it together and saying that if we give them that kind of an edge and that kind of a support to teachers, I think that we can bring the best out of teachers, and the teachers can bring best out of the children, and children love to come to school. And a happy school makes a happy teacher. I mean, happy school makes a happy environment, and a happy parent too, right? So this is what our whole intention is all about. Thank you.
Wonderful. Very nicely said, Usha, Mohan. It was excellent. And audience, you have any questions?
Yeah, this is Mehak here. I have a small question. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. With the globalization, and we are working in different cultures. I mean, when we are talking about globalization, we are not talking about only one culture where we are training the children. So I just wanted to know what kind of a methodology can be employed, knowing well that children come from different backgrounds and with different cultures. So what methodology would a teacher want to adapt so that the children is able to get connected in whatever culture he's learning from?
See, the children are not only multiple culture, but they're also multiple natures. All right. So whatever the language barriers are, or whatever racial picture is in this picture, but the communication of the language is a methodology of how to handle the multiple natured kids. So multiple intelligence is the answer for today's kind of various dimensional classrooms or various dimensional facets what we are facing today, because we are connecting to different kind of children from all over the globe. That's what your question was, right?
Right. That's what I was trying to say, because yes, we had a couple of students from America, and their culture is very different from what the Indian culture is. So at times,
yes, in fact, we should try to connect their cultures with our Indian cultures, and they should have a kind of a kind of a exchange programs where they understand that this is how India is and that's how America is. So that's how we do. We need to do a classroom connect from India. We have been doing that in our schools also. We've been connecting the other classrooms in UK and US across. So children should not feel that I am different and they are different. After all, there's one language of teaching. And that teaching can happen through visualize. Some children, they understand by visual approach. Some children understand by kinesthetically, they can understand the thing. So you can take the same multiple intelligence in a different way and make the children understand. It's ultimately teaching and how you teach. And if you teach through activities, there's no need for a language. Language cannot be a barrier. And the child will understand the way he wants to learn. So you teach the child the way he wants to learn, not the way you want to teach. So that's what I try to put it across.
Yeah, same thing. Right. What I can also suggest is one thing that you have to keep in mind is that you have to understand the child better to ensure what the child wants to learn.
Connect with the children.
You have to connect, yes. You have to connect and you have to understand the children.
Right, absolutely.
You have in the class.
Absolutely.
And then you have to teach what they want to learn, not what you want to teach.
Yes,
right.
Absolutely.
Right. Bang on. Thank you so much for the insights.
Welcome.
Yes, most welcome.
Thanks for the lovely question.
And thank you, Mr. Khizer.
Mr. Khizer is unwell today. All right. Now, next we have Mr. Navneet Ranjan. Are we there, Mr. Navneet Ranjan? Are we audible?
Yes, I am there.
Wonderful. He is an educator by passion. He holds a master's degree in English from Patna University and MBA from University Department of Management Sciences, Pune University, sorry. He worked in senior positions in NIIT and Pearson groups. At Pearson, he was involved in the creation of their curriculum called MyPedia, which is based on multiple intelligences. Yes, MyPedia, which is based on multiple intelligences that we were talking about just now. In 2015, December, he launched his own company, which is named Ojasvi Education Services LLP. The company is into teachers training, career counseling, and publication. Navneet trains on education in different topics across the country. He has written many books and essays. He has written phonetics for beginners, perhaps first book for Indian school students. Okay. So phonetics for beginners is the first book for Indian school students on phonetics apart from the English curriculum for primary classes. And he also is into recruitment, pan-India and outside different countries for teachers recruitment, principals recruitment, directors recruitment. We welcome you, Mr. Navneet Ranjan. And the topic that you're going to talk about today would be how are the teachers or the educators expected to teach in the 21st century?
Hello.
Yeah, we
So
can
good
hear you,
afternoon,
Mr. Navneet
friends.
Ranjan. Good afternoon.
I think my face is not seen, the picture is not coming, and that is because of the poor network that I have as of now for my laptop. But you can hear me and try to listen what I wish to communicate. The topic of my speech or discussion with you is what is the role of a teacher I think the journey of a teacher is a journey of realization. The journey of education and educators is a journey of the teaching, and the teaching has also evolved. And I will ask and discuss some of the fundamentals of human civilization. What we as human beings want in our life. There can be different questions, there can be different answers. One of the answers is, as a student of politics, we can say some people want power. And the people who are able to capture power in the beginning of human civilization in the form of government or monarchy or dictator, they have set the parameter for education and teaching. That came in the form of state's intervention in education, and that came also in the form of the influence of religion in our education. Therefore, to my mind, the first phase of universal education, or at least the sponsored education, where people or rather children were educated by somebody up, from somebody up, was essentially a teaching system of command and control. This is right, this is wrong, you have to do this, you don't have to do this. So that was the set of communication that a teacher would have. He will hand you out a set of don'ts and do's. So for example, it was taught that we need to obey our parents. And it was taught probably at times that the sun moves around the earth, and if you question this, you are a bad student and you may invite even punishment. Actually, in the 15th century, Galileo said this, that the earth moves around the sun, and he was reprimanded and even punished by Pope during those days. Somehow he managed to escape punishment after taking back his words. So the traditional education is the education of command and control. Everything is fixed. You have to accept as it is, learn it, and simply to pass examinations, you have to reproduce the same and become a successful student. We know this age is not of command and control, but of making people powerful. It's an age of empowering people. And therefore, the teacher of 21st century is a teacher who doesn't define what is wrong and right. He leaves this to the students, but he enables the students to empower himself or herself in a manner that he develops the skills and faculty, that he is able to decide on his own what is right and wrong in life. How I think we can say the fixed education, the traditional education is the education of control, and the modern education is the education of empowerment. And as a teacher of 21st century, our role should be to empower students. How can that be possible? Now we go into the tools of the modern day pedagogy. In fact, in the modern times, I personally believe the word teaching is not the right word to use for teachers. Teachers should create an environment where the students learn and learn by themselves. Therefore, the teacher of 21st century is a person who creates an atmosphere and environment for the students to learn. How is this possible? This is possible when we give a chance to the students to experience life, the physical world, the emotional world, the social world, and based on the experience which a child encounters, he understands that there are patterns, and these patterns are for him takeaways. Some of these patterns could be universal. Education is something that you need to learn, unlearn, develop, and then apply in life. So let me quote a person who constitutes.
Mr. Navneet, there's a lot of disturbance.
Voice.
There's a lot of disturbance from your end.
Is it better now?
Yeah, you can speak, but there's a lot of disturbance. Start speaking. I think
I wanted to quote the words of the person of the United States. His name is, and he is, every generation, no nation has the right to its own will. We should not have our own will to future generation. We should allow to innovate and empower themselves to make a better, beautiful world. Are the true experience. Teachers of 21st century are the teachers who create tools of experiential learning. I think this is a small bit. Not able to share these slides. I had a question.
Mr. Navneet, I think we have to break.
Okay.
Because your voice, there is some loose connection from your end, and because most of the speakers as well as audience participants are using the microphone. And
using microphone.
Yeah, you're using the microphone, is it?
Yes, and I can hear everybody's voice very clearly. Maybe
See,
my
now,
voice is not going there.
Yeah, now it's better. Now it's better. See, that sound is not there. Continue,
Okay.
continue.
No, I was quoting the words of Thomas Jefferson.
Yes.
The person who framed the Constitution of the United States of America. And he says, every generation.
There is some loose connectivity.
No nation has imposed our own will on the future generation. Allow them to experience and understand how, and based on their understanding of the world, they will create My view is the 21st century teacher is a teacher who doesn't teach, but allows the students to learn from you, not something. Anybody, any question?
Any questions? I think your voice was not too audible because of the
Anyway,
speaking noise.
so we can move, and I probably disconnect and log in once again, we all.
Yeah, you can log in from your phone, and at the end I will give you an opportunity to speak again.
Okay.
Okay, log in from your phone. You can speak through the phone, from the device itself, instead of putting any speaker, earphone. Okay.
Hello.
Yes,
Am I
thank
better
you so
now?
much. Yes, you're better. Yeah, it was wonderful speaking about 21st century educators. The part where we could not hear you, I think you will be able to speak if we have time in the post session. And next we have our speaker, Mrs. Fathima Khader from Melbourne. She is with us because of technology. We have become close and very easy to look at each other on the screen and talk with each other because of technology, isn't it? We are talking about technology. We are talking about artificial intelligence. We are talking about IoT. We are talking about STEAM education. We are talking about so many things. Robotics. We are talking about how we are going to implement, how we are going to learn and all. See, during our times, we did not have all this technology and all. We were to the chalk book method of learning and teaching. And now we ourselves, not only students are learning, we are also, as adults, as old people, we are also learning how to implement technology in our daily life. Mobile phones has become a practice, isn't it? So we are all technology savvy now, most of us. Yes. And as our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji keeps on saying digital India, so we have all become digital India now, and digital people living in India. So next we have our Madam Mrs. Fathima Khader, and her topic would be, how has the purpose of education changed in the present times? And we welcome you, ma'am. And I'll just read her profile. She brings with her close to 15 years of expertise in the education sector, working extensively with children, teachers, and parents in areas of life skills training, which is very essential nowadays, personality development, and child behavior management. Her passion lies in conducting workshops on personal safety, body awareness, human sexuality, CSA awareness, and has extensively worked with adolescents. Sorry about the interruption. Adolescents on responsible behaviors. She currently heads Evolve ED, a Bangalore-based training organization that primarily works in the space of childcare, focusing on healing, restoring, and transforming human relationships. We welcome you, Mrs. Fathima Khader.
Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. You will be back in India only after your lockdown period.
My lockdown, yes, after the country lockdown is
and
lifted,
you'll have to talk about that as well in about the education system in Australia.
Of course, I'll be so happy to do that. In fact, I came here because my daughter is here, so I came here to visit her and also to work with a very famous university in Melbourne. But it's just fortunate, God knows, that I've just been under the lockdown. But I've had like a beautiful experience talking to a lot of educators because I've been, kind of working with them. So I had like a short time with them. So yeah, so maybe we could chat on that. But can I make a request before I begin? Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah.
This is like the worst example of teaching, where you have like one screen, people who I cannot see at all, cannot hear, is like a worst example. So I request everybody, if it's possible, if you're not too shy, to just put your videos on so I can see the beautiful faces.
Yes.
Yeah, that's just a request, but it's not a compulsion. Thank you. This is like the worst example, it's like me telling everything and you guys are just going to make notes. I don't even know if you guys are going to be making notes in your pajamas, but you're just going to listen to me and then you're like, okay, this is done, and, come up with few points. But I think I would like to start with a question. But by the way, do I have about 10, 15 minutes, Dr. Latha?
15, 20 minutes, yes.
Oh, 20 minutes. Okay, by
No,
the way.
15 minutes, 15 to 20, because 5 minutes for the questions and this, that, and all that. You can sum
Okay,
up.
because it's quite late for me here. So I'm just
Yeah,
going
I
to try and wrap
understand.
up by 10, 15 minutes. So when we're talking about the purpose of education, what do we mean by the word purpose? If anyone would like to add, would like to chat, go ahead, because I'm very good with questioning. So what's the word purpose? What does it mean to me? What does it mean to you? What does the purpose mean?
What do I get out of it? End result?
Okay.
Necessity of the
meaning.
thing. Necessity.
Sorry?
Necessity of the things.
Necessity. Purpose. Necessity. Okay. What else is purpose? Someone says meaning. For me, purpose is very different from goals. Purpose and goals. Do you think they're different? Because I think they're different. Yeah. And one of the difference between purpose and goal is that purpose is a starting point, goal is an end point. Am I right? Yeah. Purpose is intention, goal is like an outcome. And that outcome could be very different for different people. For schools, it could be tests, it could be scores, it could be, the colleges that the children choose to. But what is our real purpose of education? I mean, this is very few times we actually reflect on that. I know there are a couple of speakers who came before me. They were talking about information. Somebody was talking about information and knowledge, I think. Someone was talking about that. Yes. And I think it was someone who was talking about technology. So if there is a difference between information and knowledge.
So Madhu Satyanarayan, yeah, he spoke on technology.
That's right. The difference between information and knowledge, there is definitely a vast difference. And one of the difference that makes that so vast is the fact that there is experience. Would you agree with that? Yeah. But if you have to move from, let's say, experience to wisdom, there's something more that comes in, which is reflection. And the reason why I spoke about reflection as a starting point, and I thought that listening to all these educators who are bringing in different points, I thought that's a good point for us to talk about, because I know that I think Dr. Usha and a couple of other people as well spoke about the Gurukulas and how, the purpose of Gurukulas and how the education system was. I had a very funny experience here where I was talking to a principal. There are three kind of streams of schools in Australia. And one is the Catholic and the other one is public schools. I was sitting with a Catholic principal and I asked her, I said, how I'd like to understand the education system. And she just turned around and she gave me this very bad look and she said, system? And I'm like, yeah, system. She said, there's no system. There's a culture. There's a purpose. There's no system. Because the moment you say education system, it becomes standardized. That means what I teach child A is the same thing that child B also needs to learn. That means if a child A needs to learn ABC by the age of 4, I also expect a child of 4 or 5 years to learn ABC who probably may not be ready, or probably just probably doesn't want to learn. Maybe he doesn't want to learn ABC. You get what I'm saying? It's just like the way, like me and my cousin brother, both of us, when we were 5 years of age, when we were 5-year-olds, my parents bought us a guitar. And my cousin actually learned the guitar and actually plays, professionally. Where I was given a guitar when I was at the age of 5, I didn't even know how to hold it. I still don't know how to hold it. But does that make me like less worthy of that guitar? It doesn't mean like that. It just means that 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 person is so different, I'm different. Maybe I was not meant to hold that guitar. Maybe I never figured out. Maybe that was not where my heart lies. I didn't do it. Maybe he figured it out. Maybe it's just the way it kind of slipped into his lap. Are you getting my point? The moment we make a system, it becomes standardized. But the irony is that we are working with, when I say a school system, let's take it for granted that we call it school system. When you say school system, the kind of work that we do is very information which is given, very textual sort of, relationship that goes on in school, whereas the system should be very human based. So I know I think Mr. Bala spoke about empathy, he spoke about, I think, compassion, he spoke about relationship, he spoke about socializing and how we need to talk about it. We all are talking about it. But what is the purpose? As school leaders, do we even understand what the purpose is, or are we getting caught with that system? Because a lot of times you really can't change the system we are in. We really can't. We can't go back to CBSE and say, hey, you know what? To hell with you. I'm not going to follow your curriculum, because I know at the end of the day, there are parents who are going to go back and say, is my child ready to write my CBSE exam? And you have my entrance exam, and they have to become an IIT. Somewhere, whether we like it or not, our purpose is lost because of, you call it the societal pressure, you call it the parental pressure, you call it whatever, right? So again, what is the purpose of education? And are we servicing that purpose today is a big question mark. Do you all agree with what I'm saying? Yeah? Okay, awesome. And I think one thing which is very important for us to know, that education, the moment it becomes linear, it fails. It needs to be organic. It needs to be very individual based. But then we do have a little bit of loopholes even in that. Now, let me give you an example, very real example, because I know that a lot of you brought that up in terms of Gurukula. What was the purpose of Gurukula? How did that work? It was about a parent who sent their children to this residential school for over, I don't know how many years, under the guidance of a teacher. And what was the purpose of that teacher? Not the school. It was not that place. It was that one particular teacher who took responsibility of those children. What was the purpose? What was it that they were wanting for? Is to develop characters, moralities, am I right? Habits, nature. I mean, these are the things that maybe even religious texts, to learn knowledge from religious texts, not from science. Science was a part of it. But there was so much emphasis given on to the teacher, because I think teachers are the creators of education. No matter how many books or papers or lesson plans that we make, it is the teacher who actually, like customizes it. Yeah. So, for me, I look at, if I have to question this, because I do a lot of reflection as well. I find sometimes schools like, more like, how should I say that? Like food market, delivery food, like instant food, like fast food. We have two kinds of schools. We have like fast food, who's kind of catering to something which is required. And you have restaurants, restaurants that like, what do you call them? You call them sagars, and we call them sagars and all that, right? Like fast food, like quick things. And you have schools which are like, who customize it. It's the same pani puri, by the way. It's the same idli, but you customize it to what the individual requires, because you know that this is what that person needs. And I think we're losing that purpose today. And somewhere, when I visited a school over here in Australia, and also I happened to meet a few schools in India when I was back there, they were doing such beautiful work with children. I can talk about one particular school which kind of stayed on with me, and I spoke about that school to a few people here in Australia as well, where that school had a lesson plan. We had daily activities, but they had complete liberty to the children to sit in any class that they want. So a 4-year-old can sit in a 5-year-old class. A 5-year-old can sit in a 10-year-old class. A 10-year-old can sit in a 3-year-old class. It's up to them. The classes are going on, and the child chooses where he wants to sit. And the child was not meant to sit in one, like a 3 or a 4 wall classroom. It was an open space. There were kids who were choosing those spaces. I want to sit in the hall today. I want to sit in the corridor today. Let's go out on the terrace and let's go out in the garden and do today. And there were a couple of people who just didn't want to attend any Hindi and language. So they were, asked the permission, they were given that permission to go in a workshop. So they had the school had a workshop, like a workshop where they were building stuff. Like they were building out of, waste materials. The parents were dumping all things, which is like waste things of the kitchen. They kind of, give it away to the school. The school was using those trash to actually build things. And there were kids who were spending hours and hours and hours in that workshop. And that school never stopped children from going to any of them because they gave them that freedom. Yes, they had an agenda. Yes, they had some structure. Yes, they had a timetable. But what I loved about that education system, or the way, I'm using the word system, let's remove that system, let's remove the word system. I think that culture, that whole environment that they built, was that the child was free to choose whatever they would want at that point of time. And I love that. And unfortunately, these schools today are actually called alternative schools, which are supposed to be like the mainstream schools. They're the ones, just like our Gurukula, where we're seeding the source of compassion, empathy, social, because they knew that was important. And they were not preparing children for jobs. Jobs are done by hands. They were preparing children for careers. Careers which are coming from reflection, careers that are coming from the heart of the children, where passion lies. Because today we are actually in the whole purpose of creating careers, we're actually preparing for jobs. And at the end of 12th standard, or maybe at the end of graduation, we realize they're not even worthy of jobs. And we think we're preparing them for careers, but we're not preparing them for careers. There's no passion anymore. There's no curiosity. There's no learning. There's no insight which is available to those kids. They're burnt out. They want to, I work with adolescents. I know a lot of adolescents who tell me that they want to drop out from school. They don't want to be there. Why are we pushing them into? So these are things which we can argue. Trust me, we all can talk about it. But at the end of the day, I think each one of us have a complete responsibility, or maybe at least a responsibility of ourselves, as to what is that 1% of that change that I can make. And the first thing that I think we can do is to get that clarity of, how am I running that school? Am I running it out of a lens of goals, objectives, outcomes, or am I actually running from the lens of instilling certain purpose in their life? But if it is, then I have to stay I have to be convinced about my conviction levels. Needs to be so strong that I can beat around, or maybe I can bring the parents along so that I can make my purpose. So how has the purpose of education changed? In one way, it has not changed. And in some way, it is still changing. And in a third way, which I see, we are still confused and still trying to see how we can transform schools. And there are a lot of people who are looking into what we can do, because we don't really need a change. And we can't make changes when we are in the system. We have to somewhere step out of that system to make that change. We need educators. I do a lot of talk on leadership. And I think today what we really need is educators with a very strong, like I said, conviction, values, and courage. To tell those parents, listen, boss, I have a vision of 20 years, and I know where your child is going to be. Trust us and walk with our path. And unfortunately, there are very few schools in India who are doing it. And in Australia, I see a lot of it over here in the name of Catholic and public and private schools. They're doing fantastic jobs. They are creating spaces in their classroom where kids are baking, are modeling, and they're choosing their subjects, and they want to drop out a subject after some time. It could be that freedom for them to learn. But I don't know if we have that same thing in India. If we need to do that, then we have to start from that little step of courage that we need to change, because I need to believe. Because at the end of the day, we can hear people and we can go back, clap for people and say, it looks good, sounds good. But at the end of the day, do I have that courage? Because I know leaders, if they want to make things work, courage is a very important core value. Do you agree? Yeah. So I think somewhere we have to question that as an educator. What is my purpose of running this school, or what is the purpose of education? Because I think once we get into the system with the purpose of education, we've lost it. And I know that someone also had said this, you cannot teach children. The day the teachers are entered with that whole idea that you're teaching children, you've lost it. Right there. Children don't need to be taught. They learn by themselves. We just like, we need to, from a instant food delivery side of mode, we need to create from an agricultural mode. That mode where, the farmer kind of gives each plant what it's required, customizes it, not standardize it. And unfortunately, today we are like an industry, we're like a manufacturing unit with the same test. By the way, I met a school over here where children choose their tests. They have levels of tests and they choose their tests. And if they don't want to do the test over here within this period of time, they actually choose when they want to do the test. They also choose the mode of testing. Right now, my daughter is actually doing an open book exam. And she went back to the teacher and she said, it's a 3 days exam, open book exam. So she went back and she said, this is my first unit that I'm doing. I don't think I can do it in 3 days. Can you please give me 7 days? Her professor went back to whatever. The team came back and said, yes, you can take 7 days. Do we even give that freedom? Do we even give that? Because at the end of the day, when she's somewhere connected with that purpose of learning, it gave her time to learn. It gave her time because that's the agenda at the end of the day. But do we give that freedom? Do we have a system that still gives that space for children to just be? I don't think we have that. So I think there's a lot of it, but at the end of the day, I think what's good about our place is that we've got good things as well. A lot of good things about our own system. We can really appreciate it. But I would still say that purpose is still a question mark, and I think we all need together need to come to a place where we need to start redefining what our purpose of education is. And actually, at the end of the day, like how each organization has a philosophy, like how each education system has a philosophy, Regio has a different philosophy. It came at a time which was needed. Regio came after World War II. It came because they wanted to create community. So it had a purpose, it has a vision, it has a philosophy, right? Schools, I know, they have a vision, but I don't know how much of it has been really delivered. But likewise, Montessori has its own vision, has its own philosophy, it has its own idea, and there are a couple of them who are maintaining that. What is our vision? What is our idea? What is our philosophy? What is it that we want to do? What is it that we want to service? Now, that is something which is great to begin with, because at the end of the day, no matter how much we talk, we are a team of people and maybe a set of educators who are still caught into that system of standardized test, linear modes of education, giving the same thing again, and kids are just getting demotivated, because at the end of the day, if the careers don't come from their heart and their head, then I don't know how much of a success we are. Because I don't think we need to create jobs, we need to create careers. We need to instill that passion and that freedom. And I think when that is there, life skills will walk in by itself. So yeah, so I think we're done with 10 minutes.
15 nearly.
Oh, we're nearly 15. So sorry about crossing that time. But if you'd like to ask me questions, I'm okay with that as well.
Anybody wants to ask question?
Thank you for your inputs. So what is your idea on open schooling and homeschooling?
What is my idea of open schooling and homeschooling? So you want to know my opinion? I think there's nothing good and bad about both. There's nothing good and bad about both. I think at the end of the day, it's just the mode of learning. So it's just the place of learning. So open schooling has a different mode. Homeschooling is just learned from home. It's a different process by itself. At the end of the day, it just gives liberty for a child to extract information in different modes. So I think it's just mode of choice. So some people go to school to learn, some people prefer to, or maybe some parents prefer them to do homeschooling. But at the end of the day, we may even have children. I know a lot of children who have been homeschooled who are doing brilliantly well in their careers. So, and I know a lot of people, a lot of children who have who've gone to a proper school and just not done anything about their life. So I think one is mode and the other one is the place of
flexibility.
Yeah. It's just a different way, but it just depends on the child and what it is.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Udhay.
Fatima, quickly, Madhu here. Just one quick question. Now, yes, we are talking about installing purpose in our child's life, the way that we are talking about education culture. I will stick to that. Now, if we're looking at this as a holistic approach that we're taking, but how much of this can evolve into reality? Because there are two things which are the biggest culprit of the current era that we are in. One is we are not the subject matter experts, but everybody wants to be it. The second thing is the technology intervention has been taken to too much of grantedness, or that is creating confusion, like a few of the speakers that has told in the past.
Right.
So how do we kind of, as a parent, not as an educationist, if we have to as generalized understand this concept, is there a more simpler way of understanding this?
So what you're asking me, Madhu, right? What you're asking me, Madhu, is how to balance technology. Is that what you're trying to ask me as a parent?
How much of human quotient and the technology quotient should be merged together to, install the purpose? Is there a magic mantra for that?
It's like this. We as humans are so hurry in getting answers, because at the end of the day, I can't give you an answer right now on this. It's a new thing. It's like, even vaccines take like 6 months to kind of get tested before coming out in the market. So we really don't know. We just have to, I think time will say, intervention will say. Yeah. I think both have positives and they have their negatives. And I think there's nothing good and bad about it. But I think the question over here is, when the time comes, how do we balance both? How do we balance a time where children are still socially connected and have social references versus technology as in supporting their learning? So I think it is just kind of a trial, because I know now with this COVID, technology was actually imposed on us. We really have no choice, right? And even everyone's trying to figure out, like everyone is still trying to figure out ki kya kare. Like I remember going, to be honest, on my first webinar, which happened last month, and I'm like, oh my gosh, now this is so different from the workshop that I do, because I'm very, very used to interaction. So the first few times was very challenging for me. I was figuring out, how do I pose questions? How do I connect with my audience? So, but we're all in this process of figuring it out. Yeah. But if we still have that purpose, if we still have that purpose that, yes, technology is come to us, it's been like something which is on our head right now, it's pinned on our forehead, we really can't do much about it. But we still have to look at bringing social and emotional quotient into it. Now, how do I do that? I think we'll have to still somewhere experiment, explore, and come up with. And I know the best one to do that are your teachers. And you can still do that with technology. And I'm sure, I don't know, with the way I'm saying, I don't know how many of you would agree. Would you feel that I'm actually coming from a space of honesty? Do you all agree with that? Yeah,
absolutely.
Not read anywhere. Not read anywhere. I don't have any presentation. It's coming from my space of honesty, right? You're receiving it as honest interaction or a conversation. Yeah. So there is a sense of connect there as well. And I think we're still figuring it out. And I think teachers and parents, parents have larger role right now. And with them stepping in, I think both collaboratively, we can still maintain that social quotient and emotional quotient.
Thank you. Beautifully said.
Thank you so much. Hello.
Yes. There's one question come, but I don't know if it's for me, but we can maybe ask at a later, answer at a later.
Anybody else?
I think Mehak has asked.
Mehak?
Is Mehak around?
Yes, I have just put it across in the chat, in the group, as well as personally to you, Fathima.
Oh, that's for me? Okay, so would you like to just ask me instead of me reading it? A quick one, maybe?
I can read it. Yeah, as an educator, how do we convince the parent this is need of the hour, and how important for the holistic growth of the child or children?
So, Mehak, when you say this is the need of the hour, what is the need of the hour? Technology, you mean?
No, not the technology, the purpose of what you spoke about, the purpose. How do we instill that in the parent that it's a need of the hour, and until the parent is convinced, the schools would not be able to turn the tables round.
Absolutely. Are you a teacher, Mehak, or are you a school principal? Or?
No, I'm a teacher actually.
Awesome. You know what we have to do? I can probably give you an example of the army. So when the army chief or a commander goes in, the first thing that they do is actually to talk with their jawans. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that it's not going to be very easy for you to convince them.
Right.
But there is a lot of conviction from your end. So that means you will have to take that stand, and you will have to take that, you'll have to come with a sense of purpose and clarity. If you are confused, if you are a little hazy, then it's going to be passed on to the parents, and parents will come back. And trust me, like, not everybody is going to listen to you. Not everyone's going to agree with your purpose. And there are a lot of schools I know, and a lot of principals I know, the head of schools, who've actually told the parents, if you do not understand the purpose of this education the way we are talking about it, you know what, you can actually go. So they've come to that level as well, because they are so strongly rooted in their values and their conviction.
Right.
But what I believe is, even as a parent, or even as somebody who's leading a class, if I'm convinced that this is good for my children, I will do everything to prove people. Am I right?
Right.
Yeah.
So if you would you suggest that we have small kind of a counseling sessions where like how we have a parent teacher meeting? So in one of the meetings that they all the parents are there, and then try to put across what the school's motto or the motto is all about, and how we convince them that this is what is a need, and then the parents can be the part of it as well.
Yes. So from a conversation that is so goal oriented, look at your own conversation, by the way. If you can, when you're talking to the principal or when you're talking to the parents, record your own conversation. You'll be surprised how objective. When I say objective, it's very how should I say this? I don't know if superficial would be the word, but it's very against the purpose. Something that you want to say is very against from what you really want to say. Like record your own conversation and kind of reflect onto it and see if that's what really is purpose filled. So what I'm trying to say, is that we need to have a clarity, like I said, of our own purpose, and you need to have smaller meetings with them, maybe smaller conversations, counseling, PTMs, have conversation with the other teachers. And I think more and more when you spend and build that relationship of trust with parents, they will come back to you and they will kind of they'll kind of trust you on whatever purpose that you would want to talk about. So yes, that building relationship with parents is very important. And sometimes I also feel, not sometimes, in fact a lot of times I see that I don't know why teachers and parents are so scared of schools and teachers are very scared of the parents, very scared to talk to them, because we don't know how to talk to them. So
sometimes I think, Fathima, what mostly we talk to the parents is what is being instructed by the school. Like if it's a PTM, then you're more or less instructed to talk about the academics and nothing else. But the personal connect which you have with the child, you would have understood the behavior of a child and you would know there is something going on. So sometimes you're not given that kind of freedom or the authority to, put it across to a parent.
Oh, believe me, even here it's the same thing. Here also there are teachers who are struggling with the same idea. But there are some teachers, here the only thing is teachers are very powerful. So the teachers are like, no, this is my class, I care for my kids, and this is the feedback. But they work under the system. So there are some feedback systems that, they have to give. They work under the system, but they also know where to kind of step forward and add value to the system. Even here, it's the same thing. So it is all about, conversation. It is all about you going back and reporting to the principal that I would like to talk to the parents about this. I want to give them feedback about this. I want to build relationship. I think it's a start from there. Yeah.
Right.
So before Dr. Latha actually says, we have to end it up right now. So I'll just time up. I know. So I'm just going to say time up right now.
Yeah,
so thank you
so much, Fathima, for your answers.
Thank you so much.
So in case anybody else has questions and all, you can, directly interact with her on the chat. Meanwhile, she'll be answering you there.
I can
Thank you
chat
so much, Fathima. It was wonderful.
welcome.
And I really appreciate your time that you have taken to be with us today.
Good,
from
thank
Melbourne.
You. Welcome.
Welcome. I would want you to stay another half an hour longer. That's it. After that, we'll close. Next, we have Mr. Udhay Shankar. He is the founder of DIYA, DIYA, that is Do It Yourself Academy, EduLabs, which is into training robotics and IoT to school and college children in India and abroad. So, Mr. Udhay Shankar, what do you think that the educators need to know at present times in the education world, and all your inputs and whatever you want to suggest and talk to our audience today?
Yeah.
And before
Yeah.
we finish with this one, I'll just let everybody know that we have today some correspondents and chairmen, principals, teachers, parents, students who have joined us for this seminar. And we thank
Wonderful.
each and everyone for having participated. So we
Sure.
will be sending the video
Thank you.
link to all the participants after this is over. They'll be editing and sending it to you so that you can connect with your groups and with anybody of your choice. And we are going to upload this on the YouTube link also. And it will be going through e-media in circulation to the news. All right?
Right.
All right. Please
Thank you.
take ahead. Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you all the speakers for your wonderful inputs. Yeah. So wherever you are, a round of applause for all of you. 2 reasons. 1, you can also clap. Maybe if you're tired, it's going to revive, make you active again. 2, when you appreciate others, you know where you're getting to. Gratitude should be the attitude. Thank you. So I'm going to share a small presentation with all of you. So this is where technology has gone to, if you ask me. So an adult shows a kid a floppy. The kid thinks it is a 3D printed object. An adult doesn't know what 3D printing is. That is where the divide is coming from. So the kid does not know that the save icon on his system was inspired from a floppy. And the adult does not know that floppy a child would never seen. That is where the world has gone to. So I'm the last person of this generation, who would have actually used a floppy to save a file. And now we have gone so ahead that we're downloading and streaming in GBs. That is where we have evolved to. Embracing that, we need to understand how this technology and evolution in the school system is going to help us to make sure that we achieve our purpose in ensuring that children achieve what they want to. So this is a picture from late 1800s, early 1900s, Britishers in India. This was once upon a time. But now we have technology everywhere. Air, be it land, be it water, the food we eat, the dress we wear, the cars we drive, the houses we live in, operations, even they are being made by doctors, are now robots. So we now come to a point where, we're going to say that technology, robotics, and man are going to coexist. Now we need to see how we empower children in a world which all of us agree is going to have technology as part of it. So all the speakers before have shared how the system of Gurukulas has been. So we've come from this point, and now we're at this point. So where there was coherence, or where there was interaction, where there was group-based learning, we have come to a point where it is 1% teachers, the children listen, and the kind of involvement, or the kind of where children do something together is being minimized over time. So PT should not be a period. It should be something they should do on a daily basis. So interaction, a group-based learning is something that's being lost. And then we thought, okay, let's do something very modern. Let's make team building skills, soft skills, because everyone understood that just by knowing stuff, it makes no difference unless you're going to bond and work as a team. So some fancy spaces came up. But like all educators before have shared, everything has its own benefit. So a system like the Gurukulas, a system where individual learning also has to happen, a system where collaboration has to happen, if everything comes together, that is the past, the present, and the future. If everything happens together, then we can move towards what we look for, a system which encourages the 21st century skills. And that is where we're able to do something in that space. I'm just going to share what we did. I would like to love to have your inputs on that. So I'm from Do It Yourself Academy. Like Latha has already shared, we are into technology-based education for children. So this is something which we did. So we combined the traditional learning practices with modern technology, with funky spaces, and we have created a lab which we call as Learn, Achieve, and Become. So here, kids have to sit on the floor, they have to work as teams, they have to teach each other. So a teacher would only be a support system, a guide. A teacher becomes the leader. So when you empower children to become a peer tutor, the learning happens both ways. First, the child learns to teach, which means the depth of learning goes to a different level versus being a passive listener. So when a child leads a class, the interest automatically comes in. Because he's going to go back to a student and say, hey, how did I do? Did I do something wrong? So when it is going to be a student-led and student-driven class, the involvement and the outcome will be like this. So seldom do we see in a class children all smiles, all happy. But here, when a child does something really unique and a child wants to present to the class, the involvement is to a different level. Just like one of the speakers said, involve me and I learn. That is what education should be about. So a child involving their own peer group is much more powerful than an educator involving a peer group. So let the student be the leader is what I'm looking at. And when that happens, so this is something which I hold as a good memory. So we just taught children how to program LCD displays. And the first thing the child did was, Dia is the best. So I was like really happy. So this is what as educators we need to look for. Genuine positive feedback, and things like this is what let us know that we're going in the right direction. So I would request all of you to look for signs, talk to children and understand, because the only thing which is going to take us a long way is the relation which the children are going to have with the teacher. So this is a very simple concept which I've shared in a previous webinar. So we all learn in our curriculum mathematical formulae, we all learn about the Pythagoras theorem, we all learn about multiple things. But now I give a child this robot and say, get me the shortest path in the fastest way, making sure that I don't lose much time. And this is where a child actually applies, involves, and comes up with a solution. So this kind of involve me and I learn should be done in very, very simple activities. So maybe give them a couple of stones, some chocolates, create problems around that. So when all that happens, the thought process of doing something unique, coming up with a solution will be triggered. So when that solution and the approach to solve a problem is triggered, learning becomes implementation. They learn to apply what they've learned and make sure that they come up with a solution. And most importantly, they become more imaginative and they develop the curiosity to do more. So when I say 21st century skills, these are the 4 things which I look at. First is critical thinking. So one, you give them a problem, you try to understand what they want to do with it. What are the solutions? Then they become a collaborator and a communicator. Now, we strongly believe and we enforce that in every team we have at least 3 children. So now what happens? When you give them a problem, we ask them to come up with multiple solutions. So now the team has to decide among themselves how and what they want to go about it. So when they come to a final solution, they create and they give us a solution. And this solution is presented by the team to the class. So here what happens is, first and foremost, being robotics, you don't get the solution right away. You need a lot of testing, trial and error. So here what happens is children develop grit. So many times you like a child tries once and child gives up. But here a child has to keep pursuing until the result is achieved in terms of what the child wants to do. So at the subconscious level, the child will develop grit. So not talking just about robotics, but I'm looking at in general problem-based learning. So second, when this happens, they also think of different ways they can solve the problem. And a very unique approach which we look at doing is, we link up these problems with real life problems. Say for example, make a tool or a robot which can help a blind person. So here the social quotient and the emotional quotient of a child is triggered, and they think, yes, I should use technology for social good. And they also think about how can it be helpful to someone else. And we teach them to develop a robot which can help save power. So you tell a child, don't waste electricity, the child will not listen. But you involve a child into a process that saves electricity, the child will do things on their own. So here what we look at is the subconscious learning towards the right direction. So two things we're very clear about is, one is direction and two is discipline. So as educators, this is what we need to be very clear about in the technology world. So once we achieve these two, learning becomes self-directed and they know what they want and they'll do only what they think is right. And we need to make sure that what they think is what they're going through. So here, let's say they want to do something and they take them in some other direction, the child is not going to focus. So allow the child to decide what problem they want to solve. Let the child come up with the problem. So then the solution is going to be coming from a community of children. The community is going to become a future leader community to solve problems. So why all this? So if somebody asks me whether is technology really required, so is just not computer science enough? So this is the opportunity just in India. So technology jobs are skyrocketing, and the info, the top jobs and all that, a lot of data. But to sum up this slide in a simple sentence, yes, technology is here, technology is going to stay, we have to adapt, we have to learn, and we have to grow, and only then the jobs and the careers of future are going to welcome us. So when we take an approach, we do something like this. So for us, an outcome is, one, is a child going to come out as a confident person? Two, is the child going to be a concerned citizen? Three, is the child clear as to what the child loves to do? So what we did was, we exposed the child to 10 different domains of robotics and let the child decide, okay, this is not what I like, this is not what I like, this is what, okay, this is something I love to do. So by the time a child would finish, say, 12th standard, let the child say what they want to pursue, what they like. So here what happens is, just rather than being something very simple, something which they're confused about, what care should they take, here learning becomes what they love to do. So what also happens is, they become a futuristic professional. And like one of the educators shared, there are three kinds of learners: auditory, visual, and kinesthetic. So when a teacher enters the class, the teacher should be aware that not every child learns the same way. There are two kinds: slow learners, fast learners, and slow and fast is also defined by the interest of the child in the topic. So here what we try to do is, being a hands-on activity, obviously it caters to the kinesthetic learners. So since the class is going to be for simulation and explanation of the theory, it caters to auditory and visual. So teachers can actually come up with small science projects. Say for example, a glass of water covered with the lid, invert it, the lid doesn't fall. So here what happens is, a child learns to explore even something as small as that in a hands-on way. So when a child who's kinesthetic does by hand, a child will remember it for life, and a child will learn to apply. So if you take up a subject, I think this might be a way you should approach. So first, give them the theory. What is this concept about? Second, tell them, using this concept, this is where we can apply. These are things which have already been applied. And then give them something new which they can develop. And finally, the biggest question which I get is, whether you're talking about a 7-year-old doing robotics, you think it's necessary? He's not even good in English, not even good in math. I tell them one simple thing. Okay, you want a child to become a successful professional, this, that. Do you think if someone wants to become a race car driver, they can do it, they're getting learner's license? Absolutely not. So school time is just like getting learner's license. It's a time to explore, a time to learn, because here mistakes only attract guidance, don't attract criticism. So here is the time when a child gets to explore their passion. So here we ensure that we expose the child to not just one thing, but 10 different things, so that the child should decide, and not the parent, nor the teacher, not the peers. Choose through experience is what we need to offer as educators. So we did different experiments. So first we tried with small formats, we tried workshop formats, then we did huge audience of almost 100 kids, then we need a focus audience of 25 children, then we need a focus audience of 5 children. So the one common observation which I could tell is connectivity. If a child is connected to what you're talking about, it doesn't matter if you're talking to 100 children or just one child, you're going to have a child's attention.
Very good.
So by using technology, what I'm going to say is technology should become a support system, definitely. But the teacher should be the primary system. So when we try to confuse a primary system with a support system, the fun in learning is lost.
Got it.
So to all the wonderful audience here, by looking at this picture, just type 2 words that come to your mind. I look at this picture and type 2 words that come to your mind. Learn from each other, inquisitive,
Board test.
board test, okay, interactive, supportive, now would you all agree if I told you that there is an emotion that is involved here, right? You will agree that there's an emotion here. So here, the teacher wants the child to succeed. The child is trying to learn something new, correct? So a teacher brings an emotion to the class, brings that person connectivity, brings that understanding, and the teacher's purpose is very, very simple. The teacher wants the child to succeed. So an emotional well-being for the child is what a teacher wants. Now, when we go towards technology, technology becomes a tool. Teaching is an emotion, technology is a tool. So when you just try to go full tool and no emotion, then man becomes machine. And this is where all the emotional quotient, everything has to come in. So we need to work out towards a way where the emotion and the tool come to the classroom together, and the teacher uses the tool to do something really inspiring, something to involve the child in a hands-on way. So technology as a tool should be utilized more. And end of the day, a great teacher is someone who's going to stand by you, take your hand, and make sure that you love what you're going to learn. So this can be done only by a teacher, and not even the best technology in the world can replace a wonderful teacher. So as educationists, as technology entrepreneurs, we need to make sure that we put a very user-friendly tool in the hands of the greatest person, a teacher, so that a child's life is shaped in a wonderful manner. And this is exactly what we do. So we make the teacher as a guide, as a mentor, and we let children explore. So we make sure the emotion and the tool work hand in hand. And when that happens, we have children as early as 9 and 10 making their own YouTube channels, presenting robots on YouTube, inspiring their own community. And we even inspire children to come up with solutions. So this child made a smart dustbin and won national level first place. So the idea was to make sure they're socially conscious and do something for society, the technology they learn.
Wonderful.
And it happens everywhere. So this is something which I really love. So people think that from an arts and science college, people might not do anything about robotics, but it is all about the drive and the passion. So these are girls with no coding or technology background. They build a humanoid with such complex structure in a span of 6 months. So anything is possible if only the support and the tools are given to the children. These are some of the awards we won.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Udhay Shankar. It was very nice to understand and learn what DI is doing, as well as how yeah, the process or the creativity will definitely help bloom all our student folks and the teachers and the educators, basically.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you
Thank
all
you
for the
so
opportunity.
much. We have to keep ourselves updated to make the child a genius to face the competitive world. Correct?
Perfect. Rightly
Yes.
said.
Thank you so much. And now we have Mr. Madhu Satyanarayan. I think we have Navneet Ranjan. Are you there? Mr. Navneet Ranjan?
Yes, I'm there.
Okay, you can speak for 5 minutes, Mr. Navneet Ranjan.
Yes, thanks. Good evening, everybody. Last time I tried to make connection with you, but the network was poor at my end and I could not talk to you. Can you all hear me properly now?
Yes, we can. You please go ahead.
Okay. The topic which I got was 21st century teacher. What is the role of a teacher in 21st century and how are they expected to teach? Okay. For me, the journey of education is the journey of human civilization. I broadly classify the journey of education and the journey of human being is one part as the journey where we control others. And the second part is one where we empower each other. Education is also like that. In the beginning of, say, or probably till the medieval ages, the pattern of education and teaching was to create a set of rules, do's and don'ts, a teacher and hand over the same to the students. The students are not expected to question. They have to mug it up, follow in the life thereafter. No question. It's a one-way communication. But it seems to me, or probably it seems to many people, that it was more an attempt to control the future generation as per our whims and fancies and as per our value system than to allow them to grow. Let me quote the words of Thomas Jefferson, who is the person responsible for creation of a document called Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and he also created the Constitution of the United States of America. And he says, every generation is a nation, and no nation has the right to impose its own will on the next generation, which means we have to prepare the future generation for themselves, not for ourselves. And therefore, for me, the teaching of 21st century and the teacher of 21st century is one who empowers the students. How is it possible? It is possible by not giving them a set of don'ts and do's. You have to allow your students to learn. And for that, you need to create a situation wherein they experience life, they experience the world, and create their own knowledge. Therefore, the teaching tools of 21st century teacher is simply experiences. To create such experiences, technology can be used by teachers. And therefore, the 21st century teacher is a person who is also very, very comfortable with technology. So to my mind, the 21st century teacher is a person who empowers the students by allowing them to observe, innovate, and apply. Thank you. Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions, audience? Participants?
Very simple,
Speakers?
very short. I expect some questions from your side.
Oh yeah, that means the teacher has to be the facilitator,
Yes.
right?
He is not expected to give knowledge. He is expected to give situations and experiences. The knowledge will be created by the students all by themselves.
Today,
Okay. Yeah, thank you, sir.
yeah, hi, I'm Usha Mohan here.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Navneet.
Yes.
Yeah, the question is for you only. I heard about your innovation
Yes.
and 21st century skills. Today we're talking about 22nd century skills. We're talking about 22nd
Yes.
century education. So what do you
Yes.
think about mind mapping?
So these are tools. I was talking more about the philosophy. So every tool which can make the students empowered and competent to face his life in the best possible way and to contribute positively to the future society is something of use, including the tool that we are talking about.
What are the various other nuances, or probably what are the other various code facts which is required for 22nd century skills? Because children are already, we've crossed the 21st century already. So we are going ahead the 22nd
Can you repeat?
century.
Can you repeat the question?
I said, what are the various things required to make the children more confident in the 22nd century skills when we are trying to imbibe them in? So
To expose them to more real life situations. And the technology can play a role in that. But it's generic, but we have to create activities where they are exposed to life. If they are exposed to life, they're exposed to challenges. If they're exposed to challenges, they create solution to the problem or challenges. If they create a solution, they become powerful, they become confident.
you mean to say the social impact projects or the community outreach programs which they can take?
Yes, they can be of great help.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.